So he tried to kill me with scissors. I mean, the big scissors, like these, like long scissors. So, as most of you who probably grew up in bad areas and neighborhoods, you know that violence is very common. It's almost as common as like drinking water. Like you almost have to engage in it in some way, shape, or form if you don't want to, let's say, get picked on or abused or thought to be weak. So I had a girlfriend. I'm not going to say her name, and we dated for a few months. There was a guy, a friend, not her friend necessarily, but her brother's friend, who was, kind of too jokey when it came to our relationship. And this guy, particularly, I was talking on the phone with her. We were going back and forth talking for around 30 minutes to an hour. You know how it is. And he grabbed the phone like, "Oh man, shut up, ha 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 ha," and then hung up the phone. And he's done this probably 4 or 5 times at this point. So I didn't understand why he kept doing that. So I got mad, was furious actually. So I put the phone down. At that point, it wasn't. We only had house phones, so it was like the cord. The cord. You gotta like put it back. I go over there because I know where they are because I know where she lived. She lived maybe, say, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 blocks away. These are pretty big blocks, by the way. It doesn't seem like a New York block when you compare it relatively. So I go over there furious, like I'm gonna beat this guy up. I'm tired of these games. So my cousin comes with me at the time because he saw how mad I was. He didn't want anything crazy to happen, like one of us end up in prison or in juvie at that time because we weren't old enough to be in prison. So I go. My cousin comes with me. I come through the door, like, because I know that he's there because it just happened. So I come through the door, and I go. I'm cursing at him. I push him. We're outside now at this point. His friend was also my friend. So I'm not gonna say names, but we're there, and I grab him by his shirt, and I said, don't ever like interrupt our conversation again. I'm gonna word it that way. And he like gets in my face, like he wants to be tough. So I grabbed his face, and there's poles that divide like wiring, like metal wires, like fencing, metal fencing. There's like a pole that connects all of them, and I grabbed his face and I slammed it against the pole as hard as I could. So his face hit the pole like that. He got a bruise immediately. It just turned red and it started getting swollen. And then he gets serious and he just freezes for a second. My friend gets involved, my cousin gets involved, the girl gets involved. All three of them are basically holding me back from even doing more damage to him. And out of nowhere, I don't know where he found these scissors. He grabbed the scissors and he says, "Come on, let's go." And he was like, "I'm gonna stab you, I'm gonna kill you." He's like threatening me to kill me. And then I'm yelling, like, when you're in the adrenaline, you don't really think. And I was also young, so I was dumb in that regard. So I said, "Come on." So I'm trying to like push my friend off of me. Like I was like, "I don't care, I'll fight." And I got no problem. Like one of us are gonna die today. And that's just the reality of what it means to be a man. Like it's about principle. It's not about you know specifics. The disrespect is what was the problem. It wasn't that he hung up the phone, because whatever, hang up the phone is not a problem, but disrespect was something I took very seriously then, and I can get away with it because I was younger. But nowadays, you can't really get away with that much. You have to, let's put it this way, you have to be more strategic if you're gonna hurt someone. But back then, there was no strategy. You show up, you start fighting, and it calms their attitude down. In either case, I'm trying to get up at this point. I push my friend off. He falls down like 2 or 3 flights of stairs. My cousin got involved and held me back because the guy didn't charge at me. He was just waiting there, like, for me to go to him. My friend says, "You're gonna stab him with the scissors, and then he's gonna stab you back, and then you guys are gonna die." He's like yelling that to the guy. And then my cousin holds me back. He's way heavier than me at the time, so I couldn't move him really. So then my girlfriend gets on top of me while I'm sitting on the stairs and is like, "Calm down, calm down." And we're just like, eventually, after maybe 10 minutes, everything calms down. And then I'm like pissed because I didn't get to finish the fight, which I don't like. Even at that young age, I always wanted to finish what I started. But I couldn't because there were too many people involved. And thank God I didn't, looking back at it, because that probably would have ended up with one of our lives dead. So as I'm walking away, the guy starts talking again. He's talking crap, and I try to push back, but my cousin's like significantly bigger than me, so I couldn't do anything. And I'm like, I kind of in my mind, I still wanted to finish it. So the next day, I come back to the house again, to their house, and I'm like waiting for him to show up, and he doesn't show up. Came back the next day again, doesn't show up. Then around 3 days in, I'm like, okay, I relaxed. It was already over. But he came back about a week later, super respectful. So never again did he ever do anything like that. Never again did he ever disrespect me in any way, not even passive aggressively, which is what most cowards do. So that's a story about earning your respect. Sometimes that's what it takes. I'd love to tell you, oh, brush it off. It's not a big deal. Uh, don't let words bother you. That's how a coward would think. The only reason you think like that is because you can't actually do anything about it. That's a coward, and that's what you are. If that's how you think. Most of the time, sure, yeah, like whatever. It's not a big deal. But if someone is disrespecting you over and over and over again, you better call it out. Because if you don't, they're too stupid to have they're too dumb to realize they're not self-aware enough. Let's word it that way. They're not self-aware enough to realize that they're being disrespectful. So you need to call it out. My recommendation, now that I'm older, would be slightly different, not completely different, but you call it out directly, period. Like, don't say that again, that's disrespectful, that's it. And if they laugh it off or do anything, move to a perfect state like Texas, where you can literally fist fight people legally. It's called mutual combat. I wish I could tell you the penal code, but I don't know it off the top of my head, but look it up. If two people mutually agree to fist fight, you could just fist fight. That's it. And if they want to prosecute you and say that you assaulted them and that was battery, you can literally just have the recording of them agreeing to mutual combat. And many cases have been dropped simply because of that. He agreed. That's what I love about Texas. That's another reason I love this place. So, but try to deal with it verbally first, because verbally you can't really be incriminated as easily when you use words instead of actual violence. So, call it out. Tell them don't say that again. It's disrespectful. And if you don't like that, you can leave. That's something that's simple. You could just use that every single time. If they don't like it, leave. And if they don't leave, you grab them by their neck and you throw them out yourself. There's no other way to deal with people like that. There's no logic that would help them realize that they're being disrespectful. The only thing that helps them is action. And I'm not inciting violence. I'm not saying that they need to deal with it so direct and hard, like I'm saying, like you would if they did it repeatedly. But if it comes up one time, you're like, hey, please don't say that again. I find that disrespectful. You deal with it that way. If they do it again, then they are being disrespectful, and you know that they are because you just told them not to do that. Then you deal with them accordingly. My recommendation, like I'm not the guy that's gonna yell at you or anything like that. I'll just say it calmly and then let my actions deal with it after that point. And if I do yell, it's very likely that it's gonna get violent very fast. Just like most men. If you're a man, you can probably say the exact same thing I'm saying. And this is logical. This isn't something that your mother's gonna teach you. Very likely, your mom's gonna teach you this. Your dad's gonna teach you this. He's gonna tell you how to deal with disrespectful people. And that's just life. I wish it wasn't that way. And I always ask myself, like, why are people like this? Why do people insult other people? Why are people passive aggressive? Why don't they just say what they mean and then mean what they say? It's because that requires courage and ability to fight. That's the next thing. Because if you're passive aggressive, that means that you're too much of a coward to be aggressive and you're too prideful to be passive. So you're trying to be a combination of both. So that way you can move forward or back. Most people are just gonna move back. Forward as in become aggressive and physical, back as in being passive and like verbal. That's how girls act, because they can't really be physical. But if you're a man and you're acting like that, you're a coward. And you need to start fixing, whatever you're dealing with. Go to a boxing gym. Trust me, they'll beat that passive aggressiveness right out of you. Don't be a coward. Be direct. Don't be passive aggressive. So be direct or be passive. That's it. Both of those are actually fairly masculine traits. Because when you're passive, you realize that some battles are not for you. If you see somebody fighting, that's not my problem. It's not my problem. Move on. If it's your family, that's when it's a different story. And if you find it in the goodness of your heart, if you choose to protect other people, then that's okay. You could do that. But if you choose not to, then don't. Some people are not worth the risk anyway. So, hope you guys found that video helpful. If you did, make sure to like it, comment down below, and tell me your story. You don't have to use names. I don't want you guys to incriminate yourself or anything like that. But, drop it down below if you have any stories like that. Use hypothetical names, right? And that's pretty much it. Hope you guys found it helpful, entertaining, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.